Aarti Shrivastava, born in Nagpur, Maharashtra, is a national award-winning documentary filmmaker and Asia 21 leader based in Chennai. She has been executive producer on films like Serious Man for Netflix, Kick, and was also associated with films like My Name is Khan, Kambakht Isk, to name a few. She is currently busy directing West Indies cricketer Devon Bravo in her upcoming film Men Take Lead, uh, and is simultaneously writing her first commercial film on women empowerment to be played by a leading female artist from South. She started her journey as a Bollywood show anchor and producer with CNBC TV 18 and has been a jury member on various national and international film festivals, including the prestigious National Film Award, International Film Festival of India in Goa. Besides managing her media production company, she has produced and directed many environmental and science films, which has brought grassroots level changes in the society. These films not only did well in the international and national film festival circuit, but also pushed the policy and decision makers to make policies which benefited Indian forests and biodiversity. She has studied social entrepreneurship from Stanford University in USA, passionate about environmental filmmaking and cinema, which brings social changes in the society. Uh, so, Aarti, uh, on behalf of all our team, we welcome you here, and we are delighted that we will have your session on the role of science, the storytelling in science filmmaking. Uh, but before you start talking on the masterclass, I want to ask, uh, as many of our viewers and participants were thinking, that you started your career as a CNBC TV 18 as anchor and producer for the Bollywood programs. So from Bollywood Gold and Glitter to the very saintly kind of environment and science filmmaking, how and why this journey?
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you, Sabyasachi, for having me, do the masterclass on such a big platform. And I'm really honored to be a part of this film festival. My film was also screened yesterday, which we did it for Tamil Nadu government. It was for governments. It was a government kind of a film, but yes, it got shown in your platform, and it was really nice. And I saw some of the films since yesterday, and they are like commendable. I mean, awesome job and good curation. I must say that all the films have been really thought through and curated well. So really appreciate all the hard work that's going behind this whole festival. And okay, to start off with now, when you talk about CNBC and Bollywood and everything, and then coming to environmental filmmaking. So my journey started when I was doing my mass media program, bachelor's in mass media from Mumbai University, and I used to write a lot of articles for Times of India. The journey actually started there. I used to write a lot of developmental, lengthy half pager article, which I used to take like 2 months to write. And, then I would go to the editor, and he would like copy check, and he will basically then approve, and then it will get, it will get in the papers. So my journey actually started from there. About, it was more about researching, putting things together, about old buildings which need, like old monumental buildings and old architecture which needs renovation, a lot of old stuff which was basically in a very dying situation, like the dying art. So there was a lot of research involved. There was a lot of the entire thing of talking to a lot of people and putting all the points together on paper and everything. So the journey actually started there, of going to locations, seeing the place, talking to people, and putting things together, and kind of putting it together to make sense, and to kind of make a story which would be which people would be interested to read about. And the journey actually started there. And in my third year, I was actually I became a news reader. And I used to do a prime time show like on a local channel, which was in Mumbai, which was called In Mumbai that time. So I used to go in the evening, do my 1 hour news recording, half an hour prime time and half an hour business, and used to come back. So the journey was more of, news and writing, news and writing. And after I graduated, I just got to know that, there was an opening and everything in CNBC. So I thought, let me just try. It's a news platform. And I mean, it's like something that everybody dreamt of at that time, to go to such a big studio. And when I entered the studio, I was like, oh my God, I wish I worked at this place. And if I wish that, they just take me to kind of work here. The journey actually started there. And slowly, steadily, I mean, I gave my, my profile. They saw all the articles that I had written. They saw all the show reels that I used to read news for the channel and everything. And within, I think it took 10 minutes for them to decide that I was actually a good fit for that kind of a role. And I was not taken as an intern, I was taken as a reporter to start off with. And I was so excited that I was going to get even paid for it. So that was something that, I started off with. But slowly, steadily, when I started working, since I was new and everything, and it was such a big organization, they always gave me soft stories to do. So parties, okay, there's a party happening, so just cover that. And I was never happy doing that. So I used to do a lot of Bollywood shows. I used to meet a lot of actors, actresses, directors. I used to cover all the premieres. I used to cover everything. But every night I would think, what am I doing? Did I do journalism to do this, to party and to eat and to cover parties everywhere and to talk about films? I was like, so I was kind of not happy. I did it for 1.5 year, and I was given a show. I mean, I had like I was I was about to get launched as the leading anchor. And I was said that, I was told that, with next month you will have your banners all over Mumbai and everything. And I was like, yeah, this is a very big responsibility to take, and I do not think I should be doing this. And if I take on that, then I'll have to stick to it for the next couple of years. So I immediately decided that no, this is not something that I would want to do. And that's where I took that decision of coming out from CNBC and starting my own documentary journey, wherein I started doing small documentaries, short films and everything. And then I did a major documentary towards, after 2 years, 2.5 years, I understood how the documentary, because I never studied filmmaking. So it was for me a very new thing to basically to understand, to write scripts, to go to shoot, to put everything together and make a film was a task for me. I was not, I mean, I did my major in journalism. So basically it was like to understand everything and to put a documentary together. And after 2-3 years, I created this one documentary, which was called Land of Widows, which did very well across a lot of film festivals in India and uh, across the globe. Like Al Jazeera was very thrilled to have that film, and they showcased it as the first film to start off with. So they really liked that film, and that really talked about the livelihoods and the issues when it came to illegal mining in India. And the kind of illegal mining structure that Rajasthan has. So it documented that, and it also documented a lot of health issues related to that, and the plight of men in those villages. Because when I read the article about this kind of this news, and I got to know that all these villages were widowed. There was not even a single man in the village. So I was like taken aback. I was like, no, I have to go and see this. What is this, and what is all this? So I contacted one local journalist who had written one small snippet about this whole story. I went and I met him in Rajasthan. From Mumbai, I drove to Rajasthan, and I met him. He took me to the place. I met a lot of people, and I was shocked to see the state, because these are the kind of stories which we should hear about on a daily basis on front page. But this finds place in like the last page, or in between somewhere as a snippet. So you don't even get these kind of stories to be read, I mean, to be like, on the national newsletters or on the national television. You don't get to hear these stories, because everywhere there are corporates, giants, and politics, everything involved in it. So it becomes difficult for people to kind of capture these kind of stories and put it on their platform. I completely understand. So it all started there with Land of Widows, which was again how the environment was being, the laws and everything were being flaunted and everything. So it all started there. And slowly, the next film that I did was on the Glacier Man, from the North India, from basically Ladakh, and how he basically, it was an engineering technique that he used to provide water to all these hilly regions, that entire Ladakh, all the villages, because Ladakh being on high altitude actually dependent on glacial melt water for the entire of summer to take care of their daily needs and water and everything. But because of global warming and the rising temperature and everything, the entire ice melted at such a high speed that the entire summer they had no water. So he kind of he designed and designed a concept, one engineering marvel, you can say. He basically created artificial glaciers, and he became a glacier man of India. So that was the next documentary that I went and I documented. And that was also an interesting thing of how what one person can do in his lifetime, and how that one person can benefit so many villages and can provide like a basic need like water to so many and thousands of people, for them to irrigate, for them to do agriculture, for them to do n number of livelihoods related to water, and to take care of their daily needs and cooking and all of that. So that was something that one person did, and I was really fascinated by that story. So that was the documentary that I did. Then we did another documentary, which was Foresting Life, which was basically on Mr. Jadav Payeng, and how he created 1,500 acres of forest all by himself over 35 years, and how he passionately created a sandbar, which is a very interesting thing for me to understand. Basically, through all of this, he converted a sandbar into a full-fledged ecosystem. And the technique he used, like ancient techniques and everything, to create a sandbar to a forest, which is something which we have never heard of, and it is never heard of anywhere in the world. So this is something, you can grow forest anywhere. You can grow forest on a land, mountains, anywhere. But to convert a sandbar into a forest was something very important for us to even understand, that you have to go beyond a different, it's a different kind of level that you have to go to do this kind of work. So he
And you won national award for this documentary.
Yes. So this film I sent, I somebody suggested that the film is really nice. You should send it for national award. I was like, oh my god! I was still in that process of doing films, doing films. I was like, national award? Are you crazy? I shouldn't be sending this film. I don't know, because I was like, I had seen like Kabir Khan and all these films, and I was like, no. I mean, how can I send my films? I had grown seeing these films, and I was never of that idea that I will ever send my film. And luckily, I was in Delhi that time doing Kick, actually, and that those 2 3 months during the submission time, I was in Delhi shooting. So somebody told me, "Our office yahi hai. You just go and submit your film, yeah." We will do everything. It's a beautiful film. I said, okay, chalo, you guys do it. So these guys who were assisting me on the film, because I was heading the production, and the film was ready. And after every documentary that I do, because I spend for my own documentaries, I self-fund my documentaries. So then after every documentary, it becomes mandatory for me to pick up a big project somewhere, and then to make money, and then to again come back and self-fund your films, because the kind of films that I make, I don't get funding, because I talk about a lot of government laws, I talk about a lot of corporates, I talk about a lot of people. So it becomes very difficult to kind of get funding. And it becomes a very tedious and a long process, which I do not want to waste my time into. So it's easy for me to basically make money from other ad films, and then to invest my money into those small films that I really am passionate about. So yes, I submitted that film, and just I was sitting one day on a laptop, and I get a letter saying that, oh my god, your film has won. So that day was like a very beautiful day of my life, and I had never thought that it will ever come. But after that, I mean, after that I have been jurying on IFFI Goa and a lot of film festivals across India and across the globe. And now I know what kind of films go in film festivals and what kind of films you really need to make, because that time I had no idea about. I was never into film festivals. I made films what made me happy, what I had wanted to talk to people about, and I kind of communicated my stories the way I thought to people, and that was more important for me rather than the film festivals and awards and everything. So that was never important. But yeah, slowly steadily I understood that festivals are also important, because they you get to, a lot of people get to see the film, and you make kind of contacts with other filmmakers, other people. So it's like it's a very beautiful film wherein you all grow and prosper. So film festivals are the must in every country. I mean, it's a beautiful kind of a movement which should only get momentum moving forward. So yeah, so this is something that I did. Currently, I'm working on another film which is based in Meghalaya, which is called The Story of Lomshnong. Now, this place called Lomshnong is basically a place which has the highest grade of limestones in it in India. So in India, what in Asia, you can also say in Asia, it has the highest grade of limestone. So I mean, this is a forest area wherein you have all these factories, cement factories, right inside the forest. Kind of, I don't know how they have got the approvals to set up factories, and how they are kind of not they're not even interested in thinking about the environment, because the kind of impact it's having on the environment, it's too much. Like like in like 5 to 8 kilometers area, you have 15 cement plants by now, not by now. So it's like it's too much for any area to go through, because it has left the entire district dusty. All the kids have asthma there now, and the rivers are turning completely acidic and completely blue, wherein if you put your hand really burns. And the forest cover is being kind of it's just disappearing. So disappearing of all these forests and all of this, what we speak about, means the disappearance of the culture, the Panar culture, which is the most prominent culture of Meghalaya. So it means that, and it's a very big thing for a culture to disappear. So somewhere we have to step in, somewhere we have to talk about these issues, and somewhere we have to really take action. And that's where I'm kind of working on that documentary right now, wherein we are talking about various aspects of these. How these cement plants are kind of impacting the environment. So that is something which is going on. The other film that we are moving towards creating is a conflict between human and elephant in Assam and various parts of the country. So we are kind of talking about elephant corridors, and we are talking about various other thing and solutions which have been adopted by villagers to kind of tackle this situation, because this is kind of a very big issue across the globe. So this is something that we would like to talk about next. And yeah, so these are the kind of films that we are working on. Another film that we are doing is on water, and kind of becoming water sufficient from water scarce. So these are the kind of films that are needed at this point, where we are really in a we are really in big problem when it comes to water. So these are the kind of films that really needs to be seen and shown, I really feel.
Apart from few these, I think you had also made some very typical science films, which we in the term like. So can you tell a little about your science films?
Yes. So basically, when you talk about science film, I recently did one very big project for the Tamil Nadu government, and we documented about 7 to 8 stories about when it comes to climate change. We all are talking about climate impact, climate change, and how it's going to impact the country and a lot of other things. So when we talk about that, it's basically uh, everybody knows climate change is happening, climate change is here, but nobody knows the intensity of what we are in. Nobody really talks about that on a general level. So the film was all about that. And when we started doing this film, I I was like, when you do science films, it is very essential for you to kind of get the data, statistics, and the general picture in place, a correct, accurate one. So you have to do a lot of research. You have to talk to a lot of people about the data, and your data should not go wrong. So it's better that you take it from the horse's mouth, like the right person, and the right concerned person, when you talk about science films, because this makes a lot of difference. So we got in touch with the Tamil Nadu government, and we kind of got to know that, how, I mean, one third of India is like, uh, surrounded by sea. So it's going to be very difficult, with the rising sea level. It's going to be very difficult for the people to kind of live on the coastline. About 5 to 6 states are all going to suffer big time because of this. Moving forward, I mean, you see the kind of pollution we are living in. Out of the 30, like 21 cities out of the 30 belong to India. When it comes to the world populated cities, I mean, the polluted cities, when you talk about. So that, and then 7 to 9 states are all surrounded, are basically are all the Himalayan region. So they're constantly in the whole thing of glacial outburst, and landslides and earthquakes, and a lot of things going on there. So if you see this, you actually know that the entire country is the it's the climate change is like there, it's right there in front of you. But it's just that you have to start making sense. And we approached Tamil Nadu government, and we did stories of how they're kind of trying to do irrigation and agriculture in the hilly region. So they had basically the ideas that they had kind of started were like very different. So we documented these ideas, and we did a lot of things around the disappearing islands. We documented the disappearing islands and how they are being restored, and the coral reefs, the bleaching of coral reefs that going on, the seagrass, and how that is all being restored. So there is so much that's going on. And we documented these lovely stories from across the state, and we put it all together, basically for people to see that these are the stories which can be implemented, replicated in other states and across the globe, for basically to understand how the seagrass and coral reefs are important, the importance of mangroves, the important how can you basically handle agriculture on the hilly areas, wherein with the high rainfall, everything, like the soil just erodes. I mean, it's just there's so much of soil erosion. So the entire brick engineering technique that are being used. So these are the kind of techniques and engineering methods that are being implemented, and which basically takes place. So these are the kind of stories that we had put it all together in the film.
So now coming on to the main topic of the masterclass, the importance of storytelling, or this science filmmaking and the storytelling. So you are the person who has worked in print, in TV news, and then you had worked in the popular Bollywood movies like My Name is Khan and Kick and all these. And then you are the person who also worked in science and documentary films, environmental and scientific films, and you won national award for that. So you had experience of best of experience of all these different genres: film, documentaries, news. So like how you will uh, fit the art of storytelling in the filmmaking, with a specifically science filmmaking in a general, but with a focus on science filmmaking, the role of storytelling, how you what are the essential component, how you do what is all everything A to Z about the storytelling.
Okay. So basically, the thing is that, we storytelling is something which is basically the same thing. You have to kind of make your films little interesting. when you talk about films and all that, whichever genre it is, whichever it just cannot be like statistics and stories, and that is those kind of films are also essential and required for presentation purpose for the government and for the organizations and corporates. But when you talk about storytelling, you have to find beautiful ways of saying your story together. So if I may just ask, if we can just put that the story of Lomshnong clip, which is about 3 minutes, approximately 3 minutes. So we will basically, it talks about various aspects of how the things are going on in Meghalaya. One can always say that, as a news report, that, 5 Ws and 1 H, what, where, when, how, these are the things. But how you want to say it and how you want to put things together in a way wherein it also looks beautiful and a person can relate to. So if you watch a lot of films, it's not about documentary filmmaking. Filmmaking is filmmaking. It's the art of storytelling. Filmmaking is basically an art of storytelling wherein you have to find a way to engage your audience in a beautiful way, and that person should be watching the film throughout, and that person should not get distracted or get bored or something. So you have to at every given point evaluate your content of what is being said. Is it too preachy? Is it too data driven? So you have to find beautiful ways of sharing things together and putting things together. So I'll just share one clip for people to understand that, even when you are doing the gravest of the taking on like the biggest of the issues, and when you talk about a lot of different kind of issues, you can put it in a different way, and you can put it in a way wherein it makes sense. So and people love to watch it, like what happens next, what next, what next. So that should always be there. So if we can just play the clip, we can talk more about it.
In a small area of, say, a radius of 5 kilometers, you have more than 8 cement plants.
How peaceful, how beautiful it was, and today how it has turned into a dusty, waterless, barren village. The stupidity of these cement companies, I mean, it's unthinkable.
Filter kadi filter, demono elok hai. Ona chua tu yopi khoj ha kadar na nong nam sogum namni. Dua klem snik di dekha arne di.
Nirangdang ro kas snew, akmor ro akset. Dan nirangdang ro karker galong rung tua pum pum sene. Dan ne kmot akmar snew. So ke pum pum be kisong. Swaban him jing bam ong nim bam upside home.
I don't think anyone would like to, see what it has become today.
Whatever forest is there, I think it will be lost very soon, and that will be very unfortunate because given the deep connection of the people in that region to its forest, the disappearance of forest will also mean the disappearance of the Panar culture altogether.
To fight against this lobby, it's a huge lobby and it's a very strong lobby. They have so much influence. The government itself, is responsible. When I say government, I'm saying from top to bottom.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
the clip.
So basically, I mean, if you see the clip, uh, I mean, I'm just talking about it from a storytelling point of view. Like these were the details and these were the little things which were still in the film is still being made. And it's just a small clip that we had cut it to show it to a lot of other people and everything. So, but when you, I mean, the music that is being used is something we recorded it from Ba Walam, basically, you know, who was the Sahitya Academy winner and you know, who basically passed away very recently, and he was an acclaimed Duitara player from Meghalaya. So he basically sat at home and kind of played these beautiful tunes, which talked about Mother Earth, which talks about people, environment. So we recorded these kind of tunes. Then we did a lot of drone shots. We took beautiful shots. We kind of spoke to a lot of people. So it's like you have to basically show this story to a lot of people who are not going to travel to that place. So you have to kind of make them aware about how it looks like from, you know, from above, from various different places, like the attractions, what kind of people are there, what is the kind of culture they have. So you have to, when you're doing a film, so you have to basically take care of all the aspects which you have to show to people without even going, I mean, without people going there or reading about it. You have to make it available through your film. So you have to understand you have to put in a lot of elements, like the kind of music that area has, like the kind of you know, the places, the culture it has. So through the film, you don't have to say anything about the culture, you don't have to say anything about the music, or any, you don't have to put it in the narrative, but you have to use these elements to enhance your film, to give people that you know, touch and feel of that place. So there are ways of doing films, you know, and you can make it very interesting through the way you want to tell the story. But I would suggest that, you know, once you are ready with the concept that you want to do and the kind of idea that you have to really make this film on, I would suggest that you should always put your points together and put it all together and see, you know, and put all these statistics and data and everything, and then start talking to your own self first. Like, what are you trying to say through this film? Once you do that exercise, I think when you put things together on paper and you start talking to yourself and you try to tell you have to keep answering this question as why you're making this film, what is the impact you want that this film should have on people. So when you're doing that, it's like you will get to the right script, you will put the things together to make it even more interesting. Once you have done the first cut, you should always sit and watch it. I mean, without being biased about your own work, like, you know, you should not keep everything. You should have to just sit and watch and just remove things which are not important, which are not taking the film anywhere. So you have to edit it in a way wherein you make the film concise for people to understand, without using a lot of text, without using a lot of narration, without using a lot of interviews. So just make your short self-explanatory, like use one shot, like you say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you have to take that just one shot which talks a lot, like, you know, that one shot that is there in the film wherein this one truck is going and the people are there and how they are reacting to the whole dust. That is how the area is. So these are the kind of things that you have to keep in mind, as in, without using a lot of shots, without using a lot of narration, without using a lot of interviews and preachy and, you know, a lot of text and everything. You have to communicate your story in a very beautiful way. So that's how I really feel that, you know, this is how the things should go ahead.
So how, let us think in the science film perspective. So if someone wants to make a film on some, like these days everyone is talking about uh, the injection for the COVID. So if someone wants to make a film, how he will start, what things he will take care of?
So when you're talking about such a big pandemic, which is going on right now, and we are in the middle of that right now. So when you talk about of a solution which is to this problem, so you basically start with this whole background of where it all started, and you have to say the journey of that whole process, like, till the solution. So your film, I ideally should start from last year, October, November, when the news started coming in of this is something, there is something like this which is happening, and people are complaining of kind of fever, and people are kind of getting admitted in hospital. So it all started from where it started, how it picked up, how it reached various countries, and how it basically then reached India, and what was something that should have been done which did not happen, which could, so a lot of things which a lot of people spoke about, that they should have done the lockdown before, they should have done this. No, but we see, when you are going to get into something, you're never that prepared, and to lock down a economy, it's a very big deal. And a kind of, in a country like India, we were being constantly compared to smaller countries like, Germany and all that. If you put 10, 15 like that, India is more than, the kind of population India has. It's the kind of the entire Europe, more than Europe. So basically, if you think about all of that, we are talking about handling that kind of a situation. So we have to also think about those kind of aspects, like the kind of population India has. Like only one state has population about so many countries in the world. So you have to kind of give that kind of statistics, that how can that be implemented, and how it takes time, and how we kind of did things the way it happened. And we have to also show that the distribution channel of doing things, like it's a big country with hierarchy, and the way things should happen, but the way it was managed was wonderful and commendable. Like the way the government of India managed this state wise, even my area, like, it came, when you talk about these changes, I was constantly in touch with all my relatives across India, and what things are happening, and whatever I saw happening in my area happened in the other areas in other part of the country. So it was commendable for a government to take care of such a big scenario and do this. So you have to have like these kind of human interest stories in between, like your kind of take, like, when you spoke to your uncle who was basically 1000 kilometers away from you, what was going on that time, and how the government was acting there and vis-a-vis your place, and how beautifully, like, this kind of film can be made with a lot of people sitting, like how it became a scenario. Like all my cousins used to sit on like a Zoom call and talk about the situation and everything, and we would have like evenings together, and how it actually connected people together, and how basically everybody shared their views and their ideas, and the way things were happening in their areas, and the kind of sanitization and everything that took place across India, that was commendable. And now we have controlled the situation, now we are almost there. And now with this kind of this solution, it is going to be like the, then you talk about the kind of distribution channel that it will be, like who will it be given to first, like talk to the right people, talk to the key people of how they are going to foresee the distribution channel, and so a lot of things. So when you talk about this, make it like it has to have parallels, like one which runs which is authoritative, which talks about authorities, like what Mr. PM Modi came and spoke on TV to the world and to the country and the people sitting everywhere. How that, and then how the chief ministers used to constantly come and talk. So these becomes your, the kind of anchors of what was going on in a general big scenario. as opposed to a parallel story of what happened in the households across India through maybe a Zoom or through maybe a WhatsApp or through whatever. And like you make it the light, this is how you can treat it and make it lighter and get interesting stories of the kind of jokes came around and how people kept themselves motivated. And now, since this is all there, the solutions are all there, so how it's going to get distributed. And again, you go back to that kind of a chat wherein all the people are talking about who will get it first. And so the film becomes little interesting for you to understand the way it happened in the households and various parts of the country, and what the government was doing, and the kind of measures the government adopted to, and everything. So it becomes a kind of full-fledged film where you talk about a lot of issues to put together.
So coming back to your first documentary, that is Land of Widow. So as we are talking about the storytelling aspect, so how you started, what was the process of making the documentary, how you researched, and how you write the script, and what are the essential things which are there for writing a script, or which is there which needs to make a regular script a good script, because you had worked in film also. So how the film script and how the documentary scripts are different, and what are the essential components? Can you elaborate a little bit of?
Yeah, I mean, films are totally different. I mean, it's like fiction and non-fiction. So it's like when you're talking about documentary films, they are basically non-fiction, wherein you have people talking about their life, they are sharing their experience and personal accounts, and various other things which happens, which is recorded. And with the kind of films and the feature films, it's totally different. It's a story with dialogues, which is being I mean, which is basically kind of a drama form. So which is different. And the process of I mean, I had kind of understood the process of filmmaking, like various departments, like the film has to be shot, then it gets edited, and then the sound, the music, then you have to also kind of clear the audio, you have to balance the audio design. There is another phase called audio design. So the process I was aware about, the technical process of making a film. Now, making a documentaries was very different, because you had to actually go to the place unknown of what you're going to make. So when I landed in Rajasthan, I was not aware about anything. I was not aware about the story itself when I started. So I had told my team that I'm going there for a week, and after that you make I mean, I'll call you guys and you can start next the following day, and let me just figure out what is there and what is not there. So when I landed there, I was accompanied by this journalist. I went to a lot of places. I spoke to a lot of people and everything. So I gathered all my data. I came back to my room and I started putting points together. So when I started putting points together, I realized that that was the time when I had to. That was the time the film was actually being made on table. When you put things together of what you want to say, how you want to say it, and a lot of things, so you become clear of what you want to shoot, and how you want to record things, what you want to what kind of questions do you want to ask people, how much of the kind of guerrilla shoot can you do, because you're not allowed entry into these mines. So what will you do, because you really need those kind of shots. So I just kind of basically I just went to the mines, and I told them that I'm just documenting this one village here, wherein the people are coming, the the art and culture and how they work and everything. So I kind of I mean, I kind of spoke like this, because it was, if I would say that I'm making a film which is on illegal mining and everything, I would never get an opportunity to shoot there. So they thought I'm a tourist kind of a person who's very enthusiastic about shooting in Rajasthan and everything. So they kind of allowed me to, okay, you can go and shoot. They did not really. I was like, I was back then 10 years before. I was like a school go, like a, you can say like a college going person. I mean, people would look at me and say, you're in school. And they were like, okay, I mean, what will she do? She's harmless. So they said, okay, you go shoot what you would like to shoot. So I started documenting the story, and I spoke to the people, and I spoke to the other mine people and everything. And towards the end of the day, they kind of, their I look said it all. The people, I thought, I kind of guessed that they understood what I was doing. And I kind of they told me, they asked me a question of what am I going to do with all these interviews, and what am I talking to these people. So I said nothing, just I'm casually talking to. So they kind of got an idea. And after that day, I've got like a lot of phone calls, threatening calls of, kind of you it should never be made and everything. We kind of understood what you were doing and everything. So that ways I kind of got away with the whole thing, and I came back to my city, which was Mumbai. I was like, how will they find me where I live and all that? So I was that kind of I mean, I would suggest, I don't know what, but today it's very easy for anybody to find anybody. Now I realize that, if they really wanted to find me, they would have found me then and there. So I used to think, now I'm in my own city, it doesn't really matter. But now when I'm doing the film in Meghalaya, which talks about limestone mining, I've shot so many cement factories, and these are the biggest names, like Star Cement, Tiger Cement, and all the big cements that you talk about are all there, and I have documented their stories. So I kind of I was in the room, and I was just I got back from my shoot, and the mistake that I did was, I took a hotel very close to that area, and we all reached our hotel rooms, and we were in the rooms, and I was just about to go and freshen up and everything, and I got a knock on my door, and I was like, okay, maybe it's a cameraman trying to give me the cards, the recorded cards and everything, for me to transfer the footage and all. And when I opened the door, there were like 6 people outside my door, all big and kind of giant kind of people. I was like, I was in Meghalaya, which was like 5 feet. The height of average height is about 5 feet. I mean, who are these people who landed on my, I mean, door? I mean, right on the second floor. I mean, right, they came from the reception, and the reception allowed them to basically go up till my room, and they were standing right there, and they asked me the question, what you're doing, and we would like to take all the cards from you. Where is all that recorded? I said, we did not record anything, and I just gave them one card, which was empty card. So basically I just had one empty card, and then I saw my camera person coming from behind, and he was going to give me all the cards in my hand, and I was like, okay, the cards recorded here and everything. So I created a thing like, you can break it, you can do whatever, and we did not shoot anything, the cameraman understood that there is some problem which she has already landed into, and they all were praying for their own lives because they didn't know where they are staying, what is happening. And we all went back. I mean, he went back to his room, and he's locked his room. So I was like, I was happy because the data was safe. But then next minute I thought, Arey, he should have at least asked me and come to help me. Like, I was in problem, but that was okay. I gave them one card that this is what we shot, and they said that we are taking. So they took my cards, which were empty, and I was like, okay, so you take these cards. We did not shoot anything, and whatever it is in these cards. So they took it from me, and they kind of broke it right in front of me, all my data cards. And I was like, good, better you did not check it, because if you would check it, you'll come tomorrow morning again for the right cards. So they broke it right in front of me, and they went off, and they threatened me that if we see you tomorrow morning after 9 o'clock here, you will not be able to go back home. So this is the kind of threatening I got. So I packed up everything from the room, and we came out in the morning. And I asked the reception guy, why was this, why was these people allowed to come to my room? They said the hotel belongs to them. So it was the entire nexus, and it's beautifully run by these corporates. They have their own hotels. So everything that happens in that area, I mean, not even an eagle can fly out of that area without their permission. It is that kind of structure that they are into. So we came out, and we started shooting the next day. We still continued shooting the next day, and then we after shooting, we drove off to direct Shillong.
Okay, now coming back again to the script and scripting thing. So we were discussing about what are the component one should take care of while making a script of a science film. Even environment film is also a kind of science film, environmental science film. So, what you will suggest to these new filmmakers, film aspirants who want to make a film, like how and how to work on the script and how to write a script? What are the components which are necessary for the script?
Okay, so I would suggest that, when you start to write your films, I mean, when you know that this is something that I want to make a film on, I think you should really kind of put your points together first and know what you're talking about. If you're talking about, for example, if you're talking about kind of climate change impact on maybe say, for example, Assam or any place, so the first person that you should.
Or we can also talk about the film where you talk about how plastic waste can be used in making the roads. We
Correct.
never talk about that.
Yes. So basically, there was this beautiful concept which was going on in Bangalore, wherein this plastic KK plastic was kind of for taking the plastic from every household. They were collecting plastic and giving money to people for plastic, and they were buying all the kind of plastics that was available in the market, in the household, and every place, and they kind of put it in the whole road making process to give road more durability and kind of strength to the road. So the entire plastic went into the making of roads, and now these people are also deciding of how plastics, which is already available in the environment, how that can be used for construction of buildings, which will give it more durability and everything. So when you talk about these kind of films and concepts, and disappearing islands, or how are they being kind of restored, and the
Or about
people.
Nano Ganesha.
Yes, and then there was another documentary that a small film that I did on how basically, there is a lot of issue of electricity when it comes to villages, and everything depends, the entire irrigation and everything depends upon, the electricity, and people don't know. They travel for like four hours by foot, to their farms, and they realize that, there is no electricity to switch on the motor. So how will they irrigate the farms and everything? So there was this one farmer who basically came up with an idea of kind of getting a message and getting a ring, and on the phone when the electricity is on. So basically you can just dial in and switch on your motor and switch off your motor through the phone. So that was a very interesting concept, wherein all the farmers said that this was something needed. We can sit at home and do something like this. We don't have to go anywhere. So now the 4 hours travel, going and then switching it on, then irrigating, and then coming back, then switching it off, and then coming back, the full day work is now just practically turned into like 5-minute work. So they know when they have to switch on the motor, they know when they have to switch off the motor, so the rest of the time is free and they can do other work and everything. So that was like they got so much of time to do other activities and other kind of business, small business, which can basically allow them to earn more money. So that was something which was going on. So when you do these kind of films, it's very important for you to meet these people first and understand their stories of, how the situation was, how the situation changed, uh, what was this whole concept about, who made this concept, and did you ever think that this concept will ever be made, and how has that changed your life, and now what is the process, like how what do you actually do it, and what kind of changes that you made after the phone irrigation started. So how did you kind of do all the the channelizing of all the kind of layout of your field, and how what all went on and about for doing that kind of a system. So when you talk about farmers, they give you all the information of how it was, how it is now, how it will be, and what kind of changes they made, and how drastic, I mean, how basically taxing it was to basically do something like this, and then talk to the innovator of why he thought what he thought and how it's actually impacting. Then come to the statistics of about how many kind of farmers are using it, how much time it is saving, and accumulated, like, what is the kind of time which is being saved, like an accumulated time, and what impact it is having on people and the time and energy and various other aspects. So you have to keep in mind and talk about various other aspects which are essential, because when you talk about switching off everything and coming back, so many farmers and the people who they had appointed to go to the farms to switch off the motor is in the night. They, on the way back, they will be bitten by snake, and there were so many issues, and so many people have died. So that doesn't happen now. So how, what kind of other problems it was able to tackle, and going to the farms in the night, coming back from from farms from the night.
So, Aarti, how you write your script? What is the process of your writing? Like you just sit and you start writing and then you finish it, or you take it in portions? And again, I want to know what are the points you want and how you develop the script as a filmmaker, as a student filmmaker, as a new filmmaker, while making a writing a script. How it should go? What point should I take in consideration into, and how you write your script?
Okay, so I'll tell you an example of the film that I'm now going to start writing, and how I'm going to approach. I will just share it here. So I'm making this film which is called Water Revolution, and it talks about how this person who revived 178 water bodies over 3 months and converted an area which was water scarce to water efficient within like 6 months. So this is the story, and why this is important. Now, why is this, why did I choose this film, why is this film important, is the first question I should ask myself. Why am I picking up this topic? Because when I pick up the paper or television or internet websites, when it comes to environmental issues and everything, 50% of the news and 50% of the stories are based on water right now. The kind of water scarcity that we are facing, the water problems that we are going to face, the depleting groundwater tables. So why did I pick that topic? So I have to put all the points together of why I feel that this film is something that needs to be made. So I will put those points. So when I put those points, I will say that the water table, the level are depleting, and the rate at which it's depleting. So these kind of statistics I will kind of gather from various resources and various the kind of the papers, research papers that are being already made available by all these top organizations who are working towards kind of making water available and all of that, and kind of reviving the whole water system in India and everything. So kind of getting their kind of points of what the problem is and why we really need to talk about water at present. So these were the points, these are the kind of points I will try to write first. Then the kind of points that I will try to write next will be what kind of impact I want from this kind of film. So this will be my next set of points of what kind of what kind of impact this film should have. So when I talk about this story, it's basically the person who did this was an IAS officer. So we understand that every area has a collector, every area has the person who's in charge of gram panchayat and all of this. So it is in their hand to do this. It is just that they need a little bit of motivation. And this case study has become a very important case study when it comes to environmental department in the government of India, because now the government wants to make this case study available to a lot of IAS officers and the collectors and all the gram panchayats, for them to see what has happened and to take the necessary actions accordingly. So what this person did, he was an IAS officer, and he was a collector of that area. So he kind of got this whole village together and kind of also went to all the temples of Tamil Nadu, of those areas, and kind of saw from those paintings where the water bodies were as per the previous maps. And they had put it in nice, beautiful painting form. So they kind of understood where, they kind of gathered all the information of where the water bodies were in the ancient times, and they started desilting it. So when they did that, they kind of revived all the water bodies that they could. So they kind of revived 178 water bodies in 3 months. And it was a community led kind of an event, which basically which is still going on. it has now become a ripple effect wherein this district has become like water efficient, and now this idea is going to the neighboring villages, and from there it's going to the neighboring villages. The idea has already come to Pondicherry from Karaikal district. So all that is going on. So basically, the next set of points that I would like to put will be what kind of impact I would like to have it. So I would like the government of India to watch this film, the various organizations related to water to watch this film. I would like all the collectors, the IS officers, the district collectors, basically all the important people to watch this film, to get inspired from, and to understand how they did it, what they did, and how they did it with the people, and kind of that even they can do it if they really would want to change the situation in their area, whether it is Assam, Meghalaya, wherever. So you have to go back to your ancient knowledge of water bodies and the kind of irrigation system, because every area has a different set of irrigation system, so you have to understand that. So then slowly steadily I'll come to the science of basically what kind of irrigation system Rajasthan had, what kind of water harvesting system Meghalaya had. So all that kind of system. So then putting these little points together, like what the different states can do, and what kind of things that needs to be revived to have the proper water kind of channelizing of water, and kind of creating a better water harvesting system. And the knowledge is all there, it was all done before, we just have to revisit it and to revive it. It's all there with us, and we were very forward when when we talk about India, about 300 years, 400, 500 years, we were very forward. We knew everything, we had all the means, and we had everything. It's just that we have somewhere lost that knowledge in between, and in the process of becoming little Western and little going forward for things which are not really essential. So you have to really go back and now revisit that knowledge and come back and revive the areas in your respective places. So this is the kind of, so these are the kind of people I would like them to watch it. Then on I would like a lot of organizations to watch it, and a lot of other people to watch it. So when you put these things together, I think you come somewhere have kind of a script in mind of the kind of tone you would like to set in the film, and the kind of way the story will flow. So this is how I think it should go.
So few things which I get is, one is to first to understand your audience. What audience, what type of audience you want to cater your film? Is it for children, or is it for college student, or is it for scientists, or is it for policymaker, or is it for everywhere? So you have to tone your film according to your audience. Second thing which I came to understand from what you said is that gathering all the datas are very important. The film should not be only about the dry data, but the film should be based on the data, because in science, data are utmost important. So you should gather your data from the reliable source. And then one next point is why you want to make the film. Do you want to make it for the government, to change some process? Do you want to make awareness, something to understand why you make the film? And then come up with the questions you want to answer in the film, and then that's how you
That becomes the first draft of your idea. Then the second draft is obviously the five, it starts with the five W's and one H: what, when, where, how, and everything. And how is the process which will go throughout the full film, and the end message, and how would you like to end the film. So when you start off with, you just show the area and how it was before, and then talk about this man and how he kind of tried to change it, and what was the process and how it was adapted to, and now towards the end what kind of impact it's having on that area, and also how it's becoming kind of important for the other people to do it in the various other areas, neighboring villages. So putting this thing, putting all of this together, and not forgetting while doing this, understanding the culture of that area.
Okay.
It is going
Now,
to be Tamil Nadu.
yeah.
So the kind of music, so you can use the kind of music, the kind of temple, the kind of culture, the kind of people they live and how they live. So when you put all these elements also in it, it basically gives the geography of the place. It basically gives you the kind of the way it is, and you kind of show the people how the things are there.
Okay, now coming up to a few questions which we are having. One question is, what is preferable while coding the film? Coding by reading movie script or by watching the movie? I exactly do not able to understand the question. Have you understand it?
I understand it. Maybe coding the film in the way, not, I don't know, but I feel that, you must watch a lot of films of that particular genre, of that particular, kind of, if you're trying to make a film on water, then watch a lot of films already made on water by various filmmakers across the globe, not just India, across the globe. If you're trying to make a film on elephant, or if you're trying to make a film on climate change, watch a lot of that kind of content for you to even understand the way you would film it, the way you would structure it, the way you will basically make things available for people to watch it and kind of understand from it.
Okay. Another question is from Isa Parilkar. She asked, some of the short film seems to end without completing the story. Is there a category of such films? What is the idea behind designing such a script?
See, now this is, if you're coming to this kind of a question, it is a fiction question. It is not non-fiction, because with non-fiction, you end the film with a message. You end, the end, because you have anyways given the entire thing in the film. So how you end the film is up to you, but you understand the film throughout. But without any message or anything, ending the film abruptly or something like that, which comes in the fiction, for people to think what could be the next thing.
Probably she is asking for the fiction one because she used the term short films.
So yeah, so it's fictional. So when you say fictional, it's like, I would give a very beautiful example of a fictional film, Raincoat. So if you would have watched this film Raincoat, when the film is being narrated, I mean the way the film is being narrated, and the film which unfolds in front of you, at every given step, every viewer thinks about the next scene from his or her own perspective. This is what is going to happen next. This will happen next. So, and the film also ends abruptly. So you don't know what is, and you like, oh, the film ended. So it is for the audience to think of what the film would be all about, and that's a very intelligent level of filmmaking, because I would take that ending as a very different way, and I will think that this will, oh, now this scene will happen. That is because of my perception, and because of my preconceived notions and preconceived ideas. That perception will come into place, and I will kind of think that, oh, this is going to be the next scene. Other person will think it in a different way. So the end and the forward of the story would be very different for every given person. So just to give the kind of, so you have to basically create a structure and end it, so that you can come up with 1,000 different ideas of what the film would be all about. So that film was a brilliant thing of the abrupt ending, and it happens with the longer version. It's a feature length film, Raincoat. But yeah, definitely it happens with the short films also, of what will happen next. And that's a very that's a given thing. I mean, it basically for various other audience to think, various other people to think various other things, like different kind of ending. So each ending to oneself, kind of a thing.
So you can don't have that kind of ending in a documentary film, in a science film. You
No.
can have it in a fiction film.
Yes, correct.
Now coming to the next question. Good evening, ma'am. Unlike people like us, still there are some who don't like or not interested in science or social related documentaries. How can we promote them, these documentaries, which are very helpful to our daily life and our thoughts, especially to the world?
See, I would say that, if you're not interested in this kind of, are they trying to make it? I did not get what they're actually trying to say.
So he is asking, unlike people like us, uh, we had interest in the science
Yeah, we have,
documentaries.
but other people don't have.
Then,
And how
then
do
how
you make
to
it
generate the
interesting?
interest?
So basically, that's what I said, that, your storytelling has to be very different. And you have to make it in a way that, like for that, I would suggest, watch a lot of Michael Moore stuff. Before watching the documentary, just read about what the documentary is all about, like Capitalism, a Love Story. It talks about a different issue. Read about that issue first. So when you read about the issue, you know the points of what the situation is and everything. But how you make it interesting, and how it basically make it interesting for people. I mean, I would have never thought that I would ever watch something like this in my life. But I watched it and I was so engaged with it, and I was so engrossed in the film, and it was very entertaining. So when you want to understand how to make your films entertaining, I think the best example is to go through Michael Moore's stuff and to watch a lot of films which he does, and Fahrenheit 9/11. I mean, a lot of films that he has made. So they are so interesting, and it just talks about all the data, and all the data which is on paper, but how he makes that data interesting, putting various jokes in it, putting various clips in it and everything, so it generates interest. So I would suggest that a lot of you can watch a lot of other kind of films also, of how to make interesting documentaries.
What about supersizing me?
Yeah, even that, for example. So even that was very interesting, like, just read about it. Like, if I have to make a story on a documentary on that, I would have like all the basic points in place. And then when you put the points in place and then you watch the film, you would be very you would be very kind of shocked by the way he did it. Like, you will feel that, oh, I couldn't have thought about that. It's something that would never come to my mind to do something like that ways. Like, so he will kind of make it so interesting, and he will put himself into it, and he will kind of make it so entertaining, and everything, so the process becomes important. So when you make your process interesting, when you are very interested and entertained while doing the film, like the while executing the film will automatically come beautiful and interesting.
Okay. Another question. Some views regarding theoretical analysis of films.
Theoretical analysis is basically more of, when you watch a film, it's like you kind of then dissect a film of about how is the script, how is the data, like the research done, what kind of people they really spoke to, was it enough, or you needed more information, or is the data that was provided in this film was enough for you, or there is more to it, and which was not explored by the filmmaker. And the kind, then different aesthetic elements, like the music, like the shot taking. So, when you watch a small film to start off with, and you kind of put these points together, like the music, the script, the research, the data, the people talking, various other things, when you put it all together, so it becomes like a complete work. And then when you put points together, whether you liked it or you did not like it, and what you liked it, what you did not like it, so when you put all those kind of points together, so it basically, you're kind of putting a theory to a film.
I have a very wonderful question which I also wanted to ask, and that's a question which most of the science filmmakers wanted to be science filmmaker can ask. Is from Abhishek Bhadra. Good question, Abhishek. He's asking, Namaskar, ma'am. You talked about valid data for science films. As we all know, films is all about visual storytelling. How would you visualize data for the purpose of storytelling in a science film?
Okay, so basically, when you talk about the data in the science film, when you're talking to basically scientists about any kind of, for example, if you're talking about disappearing island, or if you're talking about the seagrass, or you're talking about coral bleaching. So when you are talking to the scientist, it will automatically come from the horse's mouth, the data, in such a way that it will be very interesting. When you are asking them a question, it will come in a very interesting way. Like, we kind of The entire region of Pondicherry was kind of, that kind of area was rehabilitated, and we kind of took care of the seagrass of that kind of level. And so these are the kind of ways, uh, it's more interesting and better that your talking heads give you data in a way which is very which is understandable, and not obviously then the remaining data you can definitely put it in like slide form or anything, but uh, you should make sure that a lot of data should not go as slides and as narration. You should always take these data and all these details from the people who are the key people and who are talking from their mouth. So basically that becomes authentic, and nobody can question your authenticity of the film, because it is coming right from the person who is the head of the research, or who's a research agency, who's doing the entire research on the oceanography. So it's coming right from them, and they're putting it in such a beautiful way. You understand the, so data is not necessarily you will give numbers. Now the data is now the data has also changed. You talk in the you talk about data in a very different way now. Like like if you talk about how many people were impacted through this ongoing pandemic or anything, people might just say that people, as many people as the population of Goa. So those many kind of people were impacted, and that, so there is a very different kind of statistics and the data which is now being taken by people, and people speak in the way so that even the people who are giving you interviews and people who are giving you the data on camera, they understand that you'll never be able to comprehend these numbers. So they will always give you data in a form wherein you can understand the impact and the size of the problem or the solution. So they will always give you that ways, and it's better that you keep it that ways. And data can also be made very interesting, like what, how much money was made from this whole thing. So you show how much money, and how will you show that? So different kind of film clips and all. If you watch Michael Moore movies and if you see the data that is being done on his films, I mean, it's brilliant way of showing how the money and the ratio and the people and everything, like the data he gives away. And for the science films, definitely you should not go in for a lot of numbers, because it becomes preachy. So it's not going to be interesting for people to watch it and to see it. So it's better that you touch the data lightly through the people who are talking about the data in a way which is comprehensible by the general audience. If you know your audience first, that is the thing. If you know your audience, if you're making the film for specific audience which are related to the government agency, research agency and all that, then definitely you have to give the data in a different way. But if you're making the film for a general audience, like for children, so there's a way of showing data to children in children way. You will have to you have to figure out how should I say 1 crore to a child. You have to kind of understand and say it. So like that. So the children are very are quite aware about the cars and the kind of expensive cars and how much it costs. So people will kind of give that kind of data. So they will compare it with that kind of thing. So if you're giving it to the youth, it will be a different way of giving it to the youth, of how the youth will be able to comprehend that kind of data and everything. So first you have to understand who is this a message going to, and accordingly you will have to comprehend that and give it to the audience.
Yeah, so Mr. Abhishek Vadra, you understood that the style of giving data is directly related to the what kind of people you are catering.
Correct.
Yeah. We don't have any question right now. So as we are on the last segment, we had only 10 to 12 minutes left. So if you have any other question, please do ask and we will try to answer. In between, please do tell us one question which I missed.
One more question here.
Yes, I missed. I'm asking. Yes, one is from Mr. Dhuprasad Soni. This is generally a very questions which everyone want to ask. Is like his question. He's saying that it's a very basic question, but it's very important question. That apart from costly camera and budget shall we make a short film by mobile? And if yes, then what type of apps and specifications are required?
See, I would be very honest that I have never shot any film on camera. But yes, there are different filmmakers who are doing films on cameras and who are documenting various, basically few clips and few sequences on camera. So they use various um, apps like Filmic Pro and various other apps. There are various apps. So I think these are the technical issues and everything which basically can be answered by people who do mobile filmmaking. More, more on that.
Yeah, so we had a mobile filmmaker in our first master class, and we will have a specific session on mobile filmmaking where you can learn a lot about what kind of mobile phone you should use, what kind of jigmos you should use. But now, my last question is Aarti, with you, that you make film, you are into fiction and you are into documentary and you were into news, and one thing that is very common in all these three for a flow is music. The same question I asked earlier with one of my panelists is that being a festival, when we are going online, doing online, what a big problem we are facing is the copyright, music copyright thing. And it's very difficult, it's very costly to make especially design music for your film. If you are a documentary filmmaker, newcomer, student, and if you use the film which are already there, earlier days where there was no online presence, it was chal jata hai kind. But now, as a being a film festival person, if I want to screen the film, I cannot, because the moment I put the film on YouTube, it will come with a red logo, copyright fringe, copyright in violation. And last festival, we face so many problems. So what they should do, from where they can get these good music, copyright free music, and what should they do?
Okay, so I have done all kinds of films, like big budgets to small budgets. Big budgets, obviously, I could afford music directors and do it, like the Foresting Life and everything. We did it properly and all that. But the films wherein the budgets are low, and I'm working on a shoestring budget wherein I need good music and there is no budget to pay anybody. So what I do is I kind of collect the local music from that region, and that's why I said it's very important to get the local music from that region. Like, there are different artists. If you see, if I go to Meghalaya, there are so many duitara ektara players in Meghalaya. So you can just contact them, you can just go and spend one day trying to meet a lot of these musicians and trying to create music which are like little sad, little the tunes. Once you have these recorded tunes, and then pick up a lot of CDs of these CDs or DVDs and the work of these artists, which are instrumental, which is music, or basically that. So I pick up a lot of DVDs from the musical artists from the respective regions. If I'm lucky enough, I meet a lot of good and big musicians. I record, I tell them the storyline. I tell them that, I've been doing this kind of work, and this is the story that I would want you to kind of play something from your heart, about people, about environment, about this. So they will kind of play a few tunes from their heart, so which I record a lot of live musicians. I make a bank. I spend 1 2 days doing the music coverage, and I make a lot of bank, and I come back, and then it's very easy for me to use and kind of pick which goes where, and do it accordingly.
So you are saying that when you go to the specific, if you are making a specific region film, try to meet
Yeah,
local.
suppose if I'm going to go to Karaikal district, which is which is very close to Pondicherry, which is in Tamil Nadu. So I will go there and I'll talk to the local people of any musician or anybody here. Or I'm in Chennai, so I will take the local musicians who play a lot of mridangam, a lot of this, a lot of instruments which are basically very predominant in Tamil Nadu. So I'll go to those people, they will play some stuff. I will kind of give them the beats, like this 8 beat or 16 beat or what beat kind of music that you need. I'll give them the beats and they will start playing for me. And accordingly, then I can use that in the film. So I will collect a lot of music from musicians.
And if you are courteous enough, they won't charge you.
Yeah,
They will
they
give you.
mostly, they do not charge, but every time I have an amount which is good enough for, for them to make them happy. Like, if I'm using their talent for about 1 2 days, or if they are providing me with a lot of clips or anything, then, as a very small film or without a budget film, I would try to make an envelope with whatever amount I can put there, and give it to them, so that, as a kind of token of appreciation. I cannot say that I'm giving you a remuneration for what you've done, because that's not fair, because that's not how much it costs, but a token of appreciation of how much I can afford.
What about the student filmmakers? What they will do? Is there any site where they can find this copyright free music or
There
music
are a
free
lot of
to use?
sites, but these days even that is become a bit too this, and you can only use about a minute or maximum 2 minutes. And if there are like longer versions, which basically we face a lot of problem, if there are longer version, it will just play the same thing over and over again for 20 minutes. It's the same tune. So there is, I mean, you will not get it. So it's always better that, little for promos, like for 1.5 minute, 2 minutes, you can still get good music. But when it comes to making a full-fledged film and kind of getting the tone and the tune that you need, you'll have to create it. So it's very difficult to get it.
Now, as we are coming, we are hardly any time. We have 5 minutes left, but this five, I want to ask you the last question, which is there in my mind. Like you are a director. You don't edit yourself. You sit with the editor. So
I edit
while
myself.
okay, great. So while editing, if I'm not a
Because
editor,
when you are a documentary filmmaker, you learn to write, you learn to edit, you learn to film, you learn to do everything, because you don't have budget. So you learn to do everything.
so if I am making, I'm editing a documentary, uh, in the keeping the storytelling flow in my mind, what are the 5 6 points which I should be remember while editing my documentary?
Like, when you just put your entire thing which you've put on paper, when you put it on screen, then you start scrolling and you start seeing which makes sense, which doesn't make sense. And then you have to slowly steadily move forward. You just can't do it overnight, or you can't just do it in 2 days or 3 days. It will take you some time for you to just digest the kind of impact that you need to have, and the kind of stuff that you will be deleting. So you have to be a good editor. When I say good editor, means a heartless editor when you're editing your own work, because every shot that you've taken is so beautiful. You cannot get rid of it from the timeline. And before you press delete, you'll be like, nahi yaar, just let's keep it and let's not delete it. So that happens. So, but when you're editing your own work, you have to be little heartless and start deleting stuff which is taking a lot of time, which is repeating in its own, like which is just repetitive of the content which is just there. And things which are basically, every shot should just take the film forward. Then it should not lag behind. You should always keep that in mind, that every shot will only take your film forward. It should not go back. So whatever, it's like again and again, if you're going to revisit, nahi yaar, is sequence ka, even this shot is better, even this shot is better, so it's never going to work. It will go to about 3 4 hours. And if you have to make good film of, if you have like 5 hours of timeline, and if you're making 1 hour film, so you better know what you are going to put in the film. And then you have to really kind of crisp and cut and everything. These are the words that you have to use, and like become like heartless editor and just cut stuff and only put something which makes sense.
Okay, the last question. In 15-minute duration of film, kitna interview ho?
Okay. So now the thing is, 15 minute wale, this is now changed a lot. Like अगर ये सवाल आपने मुझे 5 साल पहले पूछा होता, I would have said कि 15 minutes वाले में तो you know 5 to 7 minutes interview होना चाहिए, फिर 4 minutes का narration तो होना ही चाहिए, then gaps और ambience के साथ में 15 minutes complete होते हैं. But that's not the case now. Nowadays 15 minutes can also mean 15 minutes of interviews back to back. And it makes sense. It takes your story forward. You don't have to listen to anything like Human. If you have watched it, it's 1.5 hour, 3 hours of only talking. People are only talking from various parts of the world, and it's like you just don't move your eyes from. It's like full interviews. But when you're talking about 15 minutes of science film, and if you're talking about scientific films, then obviously it should be about you should try to avoid narration as much as narration as possible. Like, do not narrate it. It is not it's something that now we do not, I mean, a lot of jury members and a lot of filmmakers and a lot of people who are watching it, they do not like the narration. So it's better that you put your things through small lines on the screen, or maybe very basic little narration, and then a lot of interviews and a lot of shots and a lot of ambience for you to feel that place. So a lot of whatever subject you're talking about, you just have to have the sound, the picture of that place, and for you to basically connect to that location instantly. So you have to record the sound and the visuals of the place along with the interviews and everything. So interviews for a science film, I would suggest from 15 minutes to be about 8 to 9 minutes it should be.
Wow. Great talking to you, Aarti. So friends, this was Aarti Shrivastava talking about the importance of storytelling in science filmmaking. It was wonderful talking to you, Aarti. Thank you for taking your time and coming to the masterclass.
Thank you so much, Sabyasachi. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, friends, so this was Aarti Shrivastava. And please do not forget that tomorrow, again, we are having two very wonderful masterclass. One is at 12 o'clock with on dimensions of narrative in science documentaries and short films. And the second is with Ms Akanksha Damini Joshi, senior filmmaker and cinematographer in New Delhi. And you can also watch some of Akanksha's film, which is in the Science Film Festival. So kindly go to the Vigyan Prasad YouTube channel and watch all these 209 films which are there from 32 countries. The second masterclass will going to happen on 5 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, dealing with difficult themes in science videos. And we will have Dr. CM Nautiyal, Program Consultant, Science Communication, Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi. Are not to miss the masterclass with Dr. CM Nautiyal and Mrs. Akanksha Damini Joshi. Thank you very much. Have a very good evening and good night, and see you tomorrow. Thank you, friends.